Stampers, and welcome to Laura's Stamp Pad. Today I just wanted to share with you a couple of my favorite little ways to use the Flowering Fields Sale-A-Bration stamp set. So that is this stamp set here. You can earn it for free through Sale-A-Bration, and it does also have a coordinating designer series paper that is super fabulous as well. You can see some of the patterns in the designer series paper right here, and I love them. But today, we're actually going to be creating this fabulous card. And I used my Aqua Painter to color these gorgeous flowers, and I just love the look. It's so beautiful and intricate and springy, and I so can't wait till spring. And so I'm just going to show you how I use my Aqua Painters to color these flowers. Let's get started. Okay, so for this card here, I actually stamped all of the flowers in the set in Basic Gray, and I used the Archival Basic Gray ink pad. And this is great for watercoloring, so you can use that. And I liked the softer look of the gray versus using a black, so that's why I chose the gray. And I stamped all of the flowers all along there. You can always start in the middle, work your way out, start left to right, and hope your spacing works. You can just do whatever you feel the most comfortable with, and don't worry if you rock a little bit and get a little bit of that stem on there like I did, because you're going to cover it up with that little banner greeting there. So no worries there. There's always a way to fix your mistake, and that's why I did that banner the way I did. So here we have our Aqua Painter, and the Aqua Painter actually has water in this barrel, and then it's got these little tips here, and they're all like a whole bunch of little ones, so it's not like one solid one. It is you know, like a whole bunch of little strings or feathered pieces, I'm not really sure exactly what it is, that all come together, and they're wet, and the water just comes through. There's no need to actually squeeze. The water will pull through as you start coloring. And there's a couple different ways. You can always take your ink pad and smash it into the lid, and then you can use that as your color palette. Or if you don't like to messy up your ink pads, you can always take a clear block and just press it into the ink pad. Just like that. And then now you can use that as your color palette. So this is Marina Mist, and I'm just going to color these little flowers here. So I pick up just a little bit of the color and just very lightly touch the flower. We're not talking about like major brush strokes or anything where we're pressing hard, which is very hard for me because I tend to be a hard presser whenever I'm coloring and things like that. I was definitely the child who broke crayons all the time and dulled all the markers. But just very lightly, just kind of touch, and you'll start to see the color appear, and go back and get more ink once you start getting a lighter shade. If you want them all to be nice and dark, then you can keep going back to the ink. But if you want, you know, a few lighter, a few darker, then you can just kind of keep coloring and just keep moving along. And then that way you have a few of your flowers looking lighter and a few looking darker. But again, don't be squeezing the barrel. Don't squeeze that, because otherwise you'll just get a big watery mess. And just lightly touch your cardstock. And again, I am actually using Whisper White cardstock. I'm not using watercolor paper. So I don't have the thickness of the watercolor paper, and I definitely don't want a lot of water, since this paper will curl and fold and bend a lot more, since it is much thinner than watercolor paper is. There I have all my little bluebells. That's what isn't that the name of that flower, I think? I'm not 100% sure on that, but I feel like I remember a flower like that when I was a kid. The next color I'm going to use is Pear Pizzazz. So I'm just going to take the other end of the clear block that I didn't ink up and ink that up there. And I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz for all of my stems. And so some of the stems I went ahead and I literally ran up and down the stem, and then, you know, colored in the flowers, and some of them I went a little darker and some of them I went a little lighter. And you can just kind of do that based on what you like. And feel free to color a little bit and then let it dry and come back and then maybe add some accent colors. So on some of these, I'll show you how I'll come back and I'll do it again by adding in just a few little pieces. And again, you're just barely touching that cardstock with the tip of this marker, just providing just a little bit of color. You don't want to go too wide. And there you have that green. So now I'm just going to show you, I'm going to go back and I'm just going to color like half of this leaf just a little bit darker. So you can see that you can go back in and do darker spots or do some shading and stuff like that. I'm not the best when it comes to shading and doing the whole, you know, where the angle of where your light is coming in. Made with love, not perfection. I always got to remember that. And again, it is watercolor, so if you go outside the lines a little bit, that's okay. That's the look you're going for, is sort of like a messy, you know, out of the lines, beautiful look. Now I'm just gonna go back through and add just a little darker color to those little beady ends there so that they look a little bit different than the stem. And you'll notice that the more you like lay this flat, the more it starts to sort of spread out, and you lose a little bit of control on that because it starts to spread out and you really don't know, is it gonna go left, is it gonna go right? So that's why you just wanna use that very fine tip and just, you know, lightly color. And again, there's no real watery mess, there's no water pooling anywhere because I'm not squeezing at all, I'm just very lightly dabbing it to the cardstock. And then whenever you want to switch colors, you can just run it dry, and if you want, you can squeeze a little to like get some water, and then see, now we're all nice and clean there. And so we're clean and ready for the next color. And I'll go ahead and clean that ink block later, and so I'll just get another ink block. Here I'm going to use Wisteria Wonder, and I'm coloring this flower here. And so this one, I'm going to color dark down low. And then as I start to run out of color, I'm gonna fill in and just brush all over this flower up top. And then I'm gonna go back for some ink and do dark down low again. And then maybe add a little bit, now as it's starting to run again, add a little bit more up top. But otherwise, I just kind of want to keep that darker shades on the bottom and then do it a little bit lighter up top. And then I used Hello Honey as my yellow. So I'm just going to add that to these, and I'm just going to kind of, you know, swish around in a circular motion for all those little beady balls. And since yellow's already a light color, I like to go back for the ink a lot because I do like bold colors, even though this is pretty pastel, and I love it anyway. But I wanted to make sure that those showed up really well. And then for our last one, I'm using Calypso Coral. And here I'm going to do this one. Again, I'm going to try to do a little bit of shading where I actually have a little darker towards the bottom here, and then towards the top, I'm going to have it a little bit lighter. And then I'm going to brush off a little bit and just go back for just a dab and do up top. And there you have your beautiful piece. Isn't that just stunning? And since you didn't use a lot of watercolor, you don't have to worry about it drying for a while. For the most part, it's pretty dry. You could always set it aside while you worked on another one or while you prepared your card base. I used a So Saffron card base because I wanted to kind of stick to my pastels there. And then I used the Greatest Greetings on some Pear Pizzazz down there, and I added a little tea lace doily. How cute is that? And for that tea lace doily, I actually was able to get 3 of those little pieces out of one of the doilies just by cutting a little angle off of it. You could always possibly get even more than that out of that tea lace doily. So I love being able to get multiples out of one piece like that, and it just adds that little bit of flair to the bottom. I love it. Don't forget, this is the Flowering Fields stamp set, and you can get that for free through Sale-A-Bration from now until the end of March. And let's bring in a few other samples that I created. This one also uses the Flowering Fields Designer Series paper, and I just colored in all of those little flowers. And oh, here's a third one. And then here's another one that uses the Designer Series paper, and then it uses the greeting from Rose Wonder. And then this one here, which I'll leave a link down below for this one, as I have already posted this one on my blog and showed you how to use the curvy corner punch. And so that one's super fabulous. And then a little bit of a man card, because men can have flowers too. So I thought that those fabulous blues and greens would be amazing for that. So there's so many ways that you can use this stamp set, and I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to check out my blog, laurastamppad.com, as I'll be posting full tutorials and more pictures of all of these samples. I'll leave links down below for each of those. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and let me know how you like using the Aqua Painter. Do you prefer the Aqua Painter, the blender pens, or just regular markers? I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any suggestions for more videos, then let me know in the comments below as well. Until next time, happy stamping. Bye-bye.